Ed Oliver, and I just want to go over a potential point guard option today. Tyus Jones over from the Memphis Grizzlies, who has had a very good playoff series, and I feel like he fits what Tommy Shepard is looking for, or what Wes Unseld Jr. is looking for in a pass first point guard. And then I do want to do a mock draft Tuesday. I don't have any mock trades today, but we're gonna do a quick mock draft or tankathon simulator at the end. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Just want to thank you guys for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. All right, so the Wizards, they're on a quest to find a point guard. I compare it to the Washington Commanders looking for a quarterback. This whole offseason, they're going to be looking for a quarterback. Also, at the end of the show, I want to talk about some disturbing news that Denny Avdia talked about in our interview, talking about his experience in the U.S. and in D.C. That was very unfortunate to hear. So I'm going to talk about that for really just 30 seconds just to touch on that. But I just hate that he experienced what he experienced. But I'm going to talk about that towards the end of the episode tonight. But um, Tommy Shepard and Wes Unseld Jr. They're looking for a point guard. They brought in a guy who they thought could be a point guard next to Bradley Beal. Did not work out. Tommy Shepard admitted that things didn't work out. I forgot the quote that he said, but basically he said things did not work out, and we're here now. And they need to find a point guard. They need to find a facilitator. They need to find somebody that can put pressure on the defense, and they need a good point of attack defender as well. Now, with the limited cap space, they're over the cap. The only way they can really acquire guys are via sign and trade or the mid-level exception of $10.5 million. They do have the biannual exception available as well, so that makes things even tougher. And then, Bradley Beal is going to most likely sign his max extension deal of $250 million. So it just makes things tougher. And then when you do want to trade for a point guard that could, who's really available? You look at the free agent point guards that are available. There's not many guys out there that are available. There's just not many guys out there. So it's going to be tough. But there's a guy, Tyus Jones, not a sexy name, but he's a solid player. He's a solid player. Now, I want to go over some numbers of Tyus Jones. Tyus Jones has had career highs in a couple of categories this year. I thought he's played really well. He had a clutch 3 against the Timberwolves to put them away in Game 6. He's just played really smart basketball. He's been there when they needed him. He's been clutch. Now, there was one game where he did miss a 3 down the stretch. I want to say it was Game 4 where they lost to the Timberwolves. But Tyus Jones, man, the Grizzlies are 20-5 when John Morant does not play. And a big reason why is because of Tyus Jones. Other guys as well, DeAnthony Melton, other guards have stepped up for that roster when Jaw's out. But Tyus Jones is there. He's able to settle the troops, get everybody set up, facilitate the offense, hit guys in stride, hit guys in the right spots. He's knocking down the 3 at a high clip, and he's able to play good defense within a scheme as well. And he's very coachable as well. Now let's look at his raw numbers from Basketball Reference. 8.7 points per game, 4.4 assists per game, 2.4 boards a game, 81% from the free throw line, 48% from 2, and shooting 39% from the 3-point line. And he's shooting basically 3 threes a game. Not very high volume, but when you're coming off the bench, that's pretty solid. Playing 21 minutes per game, so in limited minutes, he's had 23 starts and played in 73 games. So he's been durable for the majority of his career as well. But yeah, they're 20-5 without John Morant, and Tyus Jones is a huge part of that. Now let's look at the things that Bradley Beal's asking for in a point guard. He wants a dog. He wants dogs on the roster. He wants guys with height. Tyus Jones is 6 feet even, 196 pounds. So he does not check the box of a tall guard, of a taller guard, but he does check the box of a so-called dog. The Grizzlies, grit and grind culture, Desmond Bane, Dylan Brooks, John Morant, Jaren Jackson, the way Brandon Clark plays 100 with his hair on fire, basically. Tyus Jones, he's not that emotional dog, but the way he plays within himself and he plays within that Grizzlies culture as well. He could definitely bring some of that toughness over to the Washington Wizards as well. So Tyus, some of the notes I wanted to write down about Tyus, what they're looking for in a point guard. Now he's been a backup. Can he be a starter? Can he fit next to Bradley Beal? That's the biggest thing. Can he fit next to Bradley Beal? What the Wizards need at the point guard position really is just a guy who can initiate offense. The ball doesn't stick. Takes smart shots. Plays good defense. Plays within the scheme. What Wes Unseld Jr. wants them to do is run the offense through Kristaps Porzingis and Bradley Beal, kind of that Jokic and Jamal Murray. I know they're not those guys, but that's what Wes is looking for. The Nuggets have never really had a juggernaut point guard. They're not really looking to have, if you're thinking of Wes Unseld Jr. coming from the Nuggets, he wants to mold that offense after what they had or what he had as an assistant coach in Denver. Bradley Beal has said the same thing as well. They had guys like Monty Morris come in, other point guards. They didn't have a juggernaut, but they had good point guards. They had good, solid point guards. And that's what the Wizards need right now. They could definitely use a guy that can facilitate, knock down the three, and play good defense. And I think Tyus checks all those boxes if they're trying to run through that. Now, let's run some numbers. That turnover, he has the best turnover to assist ratio in the NBA right now. And he could potentially break the all-time record of turnover to assist ratio. He really protects the ball. Career high in three-point percentage. And the Wizards, you can never stick your nose up at getting more possessions and protecting the basketball. You can never stick your nose up at that. Highest career assist to turnover ratio. He's in a good category with some top tier point guards. Chris Paul averaged 4.4 assists to turnover ratio. John Paxson, who was a champion with the Bulls, 4.2. Muggsy Bogues, a legitimate point guard, 4.7, and Tyus Jones with 5.2. So he's gonna break the record with a minimum of 1,500 assists in a career. So Tyus is in good company. The fact that he's gonna break that assist to turnover ratio is exactly what the Washington Wizards need. They need a facilitator. They need a guy that can bring the ball up that they can rely on. That's not gonna turn the ball over, but get guys in the right spots. Bradley Beal is at his best next to a pass first point guard. That's where he's at his best. John Wall looked to pass the ball, get Bradley Beal in his open spots. Same thing with Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook was getting his assists, racking the assists up, triple doubles and whatnot. Bradley Beal had an All NBA season next to Russell Westbrook. And I'm not comparing Tyus to those guys, but just that mindset of getting guys set up. Tyus is adaptable. He's able to play next to Ja. He's able to play next to Desmond Bane. He's been able to play next to Dylan Brooks, DeAnthony Melton. He's interchangeable, versatile as well. So I think he would be a solid fit next to Bradley Beal. That's the big question mark you think about. But I do want to talk about some of his offensive skill. Another stat that I did find on Tyus Jones and some write-ups, some articles that I found on Tyus Jones as well, why I do think that he would be a good fit for the Washington Wizards and what they're looking for. But before we do get to that, this episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks. All right, NBA fans, are you looking for a daily fantasy option for the NBA? Then you need to try the award-winning app PrizePicks. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. I love this, and we know you will too. This is how it works. You pick 2 to 5 players and an over/under on their projections, and you can win up to 10 times on any entry. It's just you versus the projected numbers. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. PrizePicks is safe and offers fast withdrawals. Use the award-winning app on both the App Store and Google Play. PrizePicks offers any prop you can think of, from point score to rebounds, even steals. PrizePicks allows mixed sports entries. For example, you can go the over on Jimmy Butler's points, or the under on James Harden's assists. And PrizePicks doesn't just offer NBA. They have options on college basketball, college football, NFL, MLB, soccer, MMA, and more. For a limited time, PrizePicks has an exclusive no-brainer of an offer for all of our users. Users get $50 for free if a player in your first PrizePicks entry scores a single point, but you must use code NBA. That's right, it's an exclusive available to Locked On fans. Sign up today and use code NBA, $50 for free if a player in your first PrizePicks entry scores a single point. Just want to thank you guys for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. Make sure to go check out Locked On NBA Big Board. Host Rafael Barlow from NBA Draft Junkies and author of the NBA Big Board newsletter is joined by Richard Stamen, Sam Ferris, and Leif Thulin, giving fans an in-depth look into the NBA draft. mock draft player rankings, and of course, big boards. It's free and available wherever you get podcasts. All right, so let's get back to some numbers here that I found on Tyus. His offensive game, his offensive repertoire. I'm not expecting him to go out there and score 20 points a game, but this stat stood out to me. Now, this stat, it's not current, but just talking about his floater game, his versatile floater game. As a point guard, you gotta have good touch with the basketball. You got to be able to finish around the rim and have some type of finish. Especially being a 6 feet even guy, 195 pounds. I remember watching him at Duke as well. He was one of the best point guards in college basketball. He's just getting better every year. So this category, he's within a good category here as well with a good group of players. So this is per B-Ball Index. This was on January 8th, 2022, which is basically more than halfway through the season. This is in floater talent. So this is, finishing around the rim, float game, finishing around the rim. These are guys that had the best percentile with their floater finishes. Number one was Trae Young, no surprise. That's the majority of his game, breaking you down. If you come out there, he crosses you up, trying to defend and stop him from shooting the three. Pick and roll, he gets to the middle of the paint, and he knocks down the floater. That's Trae Young's game right there. Second was Tyus Jones at 98, 6th percentile. Trae Young was 99 in 3rd percentile. Tyus Jones was 98 in 6th percentile. That shows how good of a finisher he is. You know how annoying it is for a big man to be 7 feet tall and then a 6 feet guy just floats the floater over your head and it just splashes through the basket for a swish. You know how annoying that is? It's like you can't get it, you can't block it. He's just knocking down that floater. Third was Luka Doncic. He's in good company right there. Luka's an elite finisher. He finishes around the rim. He finishes through contact. Just has many, many ways of finishing around you and through the defender, and finishing over the tall trees. Fifth was Cameron Payne at 96.9 percentile. Just being a smaller guy, 6 feet, you got to have that in your bag. You got to have some different type of finishes that you have in your bag and in your repertoire. That's very encouraging for me to hear about Tyus. Now, I do want to get into how we would acquire him because Bobby Marks from ESPN made a video about Washington Wizards, their off season, how they can acquire guys, what can they do with their cap space that they don't have any cap space available, but just how can they maneuver and add talent to the team. You look at the Tyus Jones, what would it take to bring him here? I do want to get to that next. And the ceiling, if you bring a Tyus Jones, what does that really make this roster? What's our ceiling? What's our goals? How much better would Tyus Jones make the Wizards alone? How much better would he make us? I already talked about the fit next to Bradley Beal. Is he a dog? Is he a taller guard? Can he shoot threes? Yes, he shot 39% from the three-point line. His usage also went up this year. Like I said before, they were 20-5 without Ja. That's just a testament to Tyus Jones and a lot of the other guys as well. There's another article that I wanted to bring up too, just talking about his performance in the playoffs and how well he's played when he's been in there. So Tyus Jones, his net rating swing was pretty much the inverse. This quote from an article I found, inverse of Ja Morant. So Memphis was plus 8.2 with Tyus Jones in the games, and plus 4.8 without him. So it was a 4-point difference, plus 8.2 with Tyus Jones in the game, but they were only a plus 4.8 when he did not play. Tyus Jones, when Ja Morant did not play, he averaged 14.6 points per game, 7.5 assists, 1.9 threes per game, 1.5 steals, and just 1.1 turnovers per 75 possessions, while shooting 39% from three with Ja Morant out. That's a big difference. It's a big difference. Tyus Jones averaged only 1.1 turnovers per 36 minutes this season, top in the league amongst point guards. Only 1 turnover per game, only 1.1 per 36 minutes. 1.1. He rarely makes mistakes. He's 25 years old as well. He did play under Tom Thibodeau with the Timberwolves, and he is the one to eliminate the Timberwolves after playing with the Timberwolves. So that's intriguing as well. You look at some of his playing the playoffs. This is an article I found from The Athletic as well. I'll quote this real quick. Tyus Jones, quote, Tyus Jones joined Desmond Bane in 2022 NBA Most Improved Player Ja Morant on the floor. That trio helped the Grizzlies outscore the Timberwolves 108-62 in 39 minutes. And 23 of those minutes came in fourth quarters where the Grizzlies outscored the Timberwolves 71-30 In the other 249 minutes of the series, the Timberwolves outscored the Grizzlies by 13 points. So you see that point differential, and that point, he's able to play with Ja, he's able to play with Desmond Bane. So I feel like he would be able to fit with Bradley Beal. Now those are completely different players. Ja is a completely different player, but it just shows the versatility in the way he can fit like a glove. He plays within the defensive scheme. Wes Unseld Jr. has his defensive scheme. Tyus is very coachable, coming from Duke, being coached by Coach K, being coached by Tom Thibodeau as well. I feel like he would be a good fit here. Also, quote from the article, for Memphis, putting Jones on the floor gave them a solid point of attack defender who allowed John Morant to focus on attacking Minnesota's foul-prone defense while letting Desmond Bane snipe from deep. Does that sound familiar? He can allow Bradley Beal to just attack the defense. Tyus Jones can using a point of attack, he can guard, the best guard out there, the point guard, and then Bradley Beal can just worry about eating on offense. Bradley Beal, his shooting percentages, his 3-point percentage has not been great lately, but he just hasn't had this past year it went down. He did not have a point guard that could really set him up. Bradley Beal had to play point for a majority of the season. We were talking about point Bradley Beal out there. Bradley Beal had 10 assists, almost had a triple double one time. He really had to play a point guard because we just didn't have one. We didn't have a natural point guard out there. We tried Howell Neto, we tried Dinwiddie, it didn't work out. We finally got Saddle, but Brad didn't get a chance to play with Saddle this year. So I just feel like Tyus Jones will be able to settle the troops and let Bradley Beal do what he does best, which is scoring the ball, coming off screens, knocking down shots like back in 2017. That's it from the article right there. But I do want to get to what it would take to bring in Tyus Jones. If we do have enough time to get to the mock draft, I will get to that. But what do I think it would take to get Tyus Jones on the Wizards? Also, the salary, what's his average salary projected? What are they, like Spot Track, what is his projected salary? What do I think he will be making, or what are experts saying that he's going to make? You look at the other point guards that are available out there. Jalen Brunson's a free agent. John Wall most likely will be a free agent if he's bought out. Goran Dragic is a free agent. There's just not many free agents out there. Kyrie Irving is technically going to be a free agent, but he's not coming here. He's going to be priced out of our range. So there's just not a lot of point guards available. So, but still, that market, what is his market at? Has he played his way? I think recently in the playoffs and this whole year, you look at the numbers and the way he's played as a leader as well. I think he's priced himself out of the MLE. But I do want to get to how the Wizards could acquire him. What would it take for the Washington Wizards to bring Tyus Jones to the Washington, D.C. area? But before we get into that, this episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting stats and sports info. Find all of the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's basketball playoffs and the start of the Major League Baseball season. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, so Bobby Marks, like I brought up earlier, he said he thinks Tyus Jones is going to make more than the mid-level exception of $10.5 million, which does not make it does not make, that's not good for the Wizards, because if they can just sign him outright as a free agent with a 10.5 mid-level exception, that would be great. That, in a perfect world, that's what I would love for that to happen, with the 10.5 mid-level exception, and not have to give up assets. You're not going to have to trade a Rui for a point guard. You're not going to have to think about trading a Kyle Kuzma. I would not trade Kyle Kuzma for Tyus Jones. I really wouldn't trade Rui for Tyus Jones either. I wouldn't want to give up any assets for Tyus Jones. I like Tyus Jones, but is he a needle mover? I wanted to talk about the ceiling too. Let's say we have a Tyus Jones at point, Bradley Beal the 2 guard. I guess KCP would be the 3. Even if you do get him for the mid-level exception, you keep everybody on the roster. Kuz is at the 4, Zingas is at the 5. Or, you draft a 3 like Ochai Agbaji. Is he going to be ready day one? Maybe he can start at the 3. You never know. And then KCP come off the bench. Kuz is at the 4. Rui comes off the bench at the 4 spot as well. Denny's off the bench at the 3. Gaffer's off the bench at the 5. Maybe Ish is still here. Sato comes off the bench as the point guard. That team, to me, is a playing team. That's a playing team. Just to be honest, it's a playing team. If everybody stays healthy, Bradley Beal plays at a high level, at an all-NBA level. Porzingis plays at an all-star level, stays healthy, gives you 20, 3 and 9 and 2 blocks a game. That's eighth, seventh seed. To be honest, to be objective, that's eighth, seventh seed. But that's a good team, and I think they would be better defensively. I think Jones would be a better fit next to Bradley Beal. I think Bradley Beal. I think roles would be defined. Of course, you got to define roles, and I think the role for Tyus would be easier because it's not a combo guard or a 6-man scoring guard coming off the bench. It's more of a traditional pass first point guard. Tommy Shepard is banging on the table for that. Wes Unseld Jr. is banging on the table for a pass first point guard. Kristaps Porzingis is banging on the table for a pass first point guard. He basically said in this extra interview, somebody like a Sato who's looking to pass the ball first. The only thing with Sato is he doesn't provide a threat from the outside. And Tyus Jones can certainly provide a threat from the outside. He has a floater. He has finishing moves around the rim that Tyus has. Is Tyus an elite scorer that's going to go out there and score 25, 30 points? Maybe on a night where, Bradley Beal's out and he needs to pick up the slack or something, or he gets hot. He's capable. You never know. Who knows? He could be better in a starting role. Is he a starter or is he better suited as a 6-man? That's the question you got to ask about Tyus Jones. Is his role just being better as a backup for Ja? But if he is put in a starting role, the point of attack defender and the lead facilitator and bringing the ball up, how's that going to work? Is that going to be a good role for Tyus? Is he ready to step up and take on that role and lead a team and be one of the parts? He would be the third scoring option or third or the fourth scoring option. But really with the Wizards, they do need a pass first point guard. They can run this offense through Brad. They can run this offense through Porzingis. And maybe at times when Kuzma gets hot, they can run an offense through him, through Kuz. And that's what they need, a point guard who knows when they're getting hot. Sometimes Raul, I like Raul, but sometimes he had tunnel vision. He just didn't know. Like Rui's getting hot, give the ball to Rui, but no, Raul's going to go to the basket sometimes instead of giving it up. Tyus realized, hey, Desmond Bane's hot, Ja's hot, Jaren Jackson's hot. I'm gonna feed him. I'm gonna get him the ball, get these guys these touches, get these guys in rhythm. That's really what they need at the point guard position. Let's get to the salary. Bobby Marks was saying he's most likely going to make more than $10.5 million. DeLon Wright, guys like that, they're probably going to get the 10.5 mid-level exception or even more. So point guards they're getting expensive out there. They're getting expensive, and I wanted to bring up the free agent point guard list for 2022, but yeah, guys like DeLon Wright and guys are going to command good money on this market here. There's just not a lot of point guards out there that are available. But yeah, Tyus Jones, he most likely is going to command possibly like a 3-year, $45 million deal. So that's $15 million per year. So let's say we do something let's say the Wizards try to give him a 3-year, $13 million deal or a 3-year, $39 million deal. I think that's something that's attainable right there. About 12 million or $13 million per year. I think that's fair to Tyus Jones. Trade assets. So you look at the draft order as well. The Grizzlies do have multiple first round picks this year. They do have multiple first round, now late round picks. The Grizzlies have the 22nd pick in the draft and they have the 29th right now projected through Tankathon if they do the lottery and where they end up. They have the 22nd and the 29th pick. So let's say we give up KCP, who's making $13.5 million this year, and we trade KCP to the Grizzlies because the Grizzlies, they're not going to be able to keep everybody. They already got a job. They're going to pay Ja, of course, probably a max deal in a couple of years or a super max. They have DeAnthony Melton, who's under contract for another season after this year. Tyus Jones is a free agent, so they got to make a decision. Is DeAnthony Melton going to be that backup point guard? And they do want more wing depth, and they do want another big. And I think they're going to try to attain that through the draft. They do have 2 first-round picks. Now, let's say the Wizards get a little bit of lottery luck, or let's say they end up at 9 or 8. I think the Grizzlies, they may want to get up there, and they could possibly get a wing. So, yeah, let's say they get the 8th, and they're like, okay, we really want Benedict Mathurin. We feel like that's a guy that is super athletic, or Shaedon Sharpe, a super athletic wing that could come in and contribute. Give us some more shooting. We already got DeAnthony Melton off the bench, so let's get another grit and grind type of wing like a Benedict Mathurin. Let's say we get that 8th pick, and they give us Tyus Jones in the 22nd pick, and we give them KCP and our 8th pick. I think that's something that could be attainable. I think that's something that's doable. You don't have to give up Rui. You don't have to give up Kuz. You get a point guard. You get a shooting guard. You already have Bradley Beal to two. You just got to find a three. You got to find a three. You got to find a small forward, and maybe you can find that with the mid-level exception. Malik Monk is out there. He's more of a two, but I like Malik Monk a lot. Robert Covington, is he there attainable with the mid-level exception? I'm just talking roster talk here. Of course, it's the all season, so a lot of roster talk. Nicholas Batum, just being an old veteran that can knock down threes, a 3-and-D guy. I do like Malik Monk. Gary Harris, you can put him at the three as well. Possibly, he's a guy he's a 3-and-D guy. So those are just the thoughts for me. So a proposed trade for me is KCP and pick 8, and you swap it for Tyus Jones and pick 20. It's not the sexiest because you would give up pick 8 for Tyus, but you really need that point guard bad. You really need a point guard badly. Or could you swindle the Grizzlies for KCP and pick 8 for Tyus Jones and pick 22 and pick 29? That's the offer that I would make for them. That's the offer I would make. So we don't have enough time for the mock draft. I'm going to try to do that tomorrow on Takeathon, and I'm just going to share my screen on YouTube. I'm going to show you guys like a little preview right now of how it's going to look. And if you're on YouTube, you can see. So yeah, I'm sharing my screen right now. It's about to show up on. Yeah, there it goes right there for the people who are watching on YouTube. So just be prepared for that. So I hope you guys can watch on YouTube. I'm going to do a mock draft with the Tankathon with the Sim Lottery, where it does like a little mock lottery. And the lottery is on May 17th. So I want to talk about some key off-season dates as well in the next episode. But I think Tyus Jones will help. Like I said, I'm not pumping up Tyus Jones like he's a top 5 point guard, but I just feel like he's a good fit. And you watch the playoffs and see what he's been able to do. He's been a key contributor for the Memphis Grizzlies this year. All right, you guys. I just want to thank you guys for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On NBA from the first jump ball of the play-in tournament to the last possession of the finals. Locked On experts take you deep inside the playoffs with insight and analysis affecting all 30 teams. Hail to the Wizards.